reckless. Young boy, come up off that necklace to the trends. CLE be the band.
Welcome to Bleachers and Speakers. I'm your host, June. You're getting a double dose of June and Foster this morning. I love when we do these Pistons and Detroit Lions show in one day. I can't get enough of sports, but we decided to do a Detroit Lions show. We do one on Wednesdays, but it's just, that's a collaboration type of thing. But me and Foster wanted to chime in today. But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to please subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube and follow us on the aggregators for your audio fix. Just type in Bleachers to Speakers FFSN in those platforms, and that's anywhere you can listen to a podcast. You can find us by searching Bleachers to Speakers FFSN. Make sure you following us. Make sure the notification bell is on, so when we drop content, you'll get an alert and download those episodes. We like to see who's listening. It gives us a chance to, redirect, redefine, and upgrade our shows. So we need to know who's listening out there. Foster, we had some a little bit of movement on the free agent front. It's for the most part, these are just, the under the radar type of signings, the type of signings you don't see Adam Schefter posting. But
apparently,
before we go, I just want to give a brief disclaimer, right? Because I pay attention to the fans on these comments and stuff like that on different shows. Different YouTube shows and stuff like that, because I'm a fan of all of it. I watch, I listen, I pay attention to all. But there was a comment that was reoccurring, and they were questioning, why are you signing all these cornerbacks? And the first thing that goes through my mind, did you not know what happened last year? We drafted 2, acquired 1, and still didn't have enough at the end of the season. If you're a fan and you're watching Detroit Lions football and you see them pick up more than what you feel is enough as cornerback, and you question it, you didn't watch what happened last season. Foster, I'm gonna let you go ahead and start it off. Though I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer, but we had some transactions going on. If you want to chime in on those, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we kind of we touched base on Wednesday to a lot of them. We're bringing back a lot of a lot of our depth players, like a Dan Skipper, who's pretty much a legend.
Playmaker. You got to bring the playmaker back.
Right. Mitchell Agude, who's a guy that had a really good preseason, and we were actually really amped for him to make the team. So he didn't get a lot of playing time because I think he was on the practice squad for most of the year. But another opportunity for him to prove himself. We brought back Craig Reynolds. Our running back room is going to be very deep again this year. That was a guy that we thought that maybe we might that we might part ways with, because we did go out and draft Sione Vaki, but he's coming back. Some more depth from Pat O'Connor, Shane Zylstra, a tight end to go along with Laporta and Brock Wright. But now as we get into the more, impactful ones, Al-Qadim Muhammad, we thought it was imperative that we bring him back. This is a player that was a pretty good playmaker down the stretch outside of Zadarius Smith. He had 3 sacks for us. And this is a guy that's been around the league a while. I mean, I was kind of surprised to find out that he was drafted in 2017. And he, in 2021, he had 6 sacks. I mean, I think this is a guy that, assuming that he doesn't have to play every down and he's not, and that he is a rotational edge rusher, I think he can really bring something to the team along with, Hutch coming back and, whoever else we draft or sign, I think that he can be, he could be an available player. He has been very durable throughout his career. He averages about 15 games a year. He's played in 15, 16, 16, 17, 16, and then 9 with Detroit. So he's a player that that hasn't been hurt at all, really, his entire career. So you love to have guys like that. But we also went out and got some corners. And we talked about that. We can never, because on Wednesday we hadn't signed either one of them, correct?
No.
Right. So yeah, we talked about the fact that the Lions can never have enough corners. We always seem to be shorthanded at that position. And I think that we've done a good job of upgrading. Kendall Vildor has moved on to brighter pastures in Tampa Bay, and we brought in a couple veteran cornerbacks who have played in meaningful games. Obviously, Avonte Maddox, aside from the fact that he's a hometown guy, he played at King. This guy had a major pass breakup in the Super Bowl that pretty much solidified their victory. So obviously, he's a player that has good experience. He's a little undersized, and he's a fast guy, but he started in 41 games out of the 81 that he's played in. He's got 4 interceptions and 8 forced fumbles. So he's a playmaker. And he has the ability to, in a pinch, play safety if need be. He played a little bit of safety in Philly, but he also rated out as a 71 in the pass rushing category. So he kind of could play that iffy role, a defensive back that has the ability to rush the passer. But as far as what I project him out to be, he's going to compete for that nickelback role along with Amik Robertson and Ennis Rekistraw. There's certainly nothing wrong with having some competition at that nickelback position. Whoever the best player is going to play, and we have guys that have started in there. They have the ability to start. So you can never have enough of those guys. As far as Rock Sin sounds like he's Asian, but this is a former second round pick. So this is a guy that had certainly had the ceiling and potential to be a starter in the NFL. He started his career in Indianapolis, his first 3 years, where he started 29 games out of 41. But he's bounced around since then. He's played for the Raiders, he played for the Ravens and the 49ers. And last year he was mostly a special teams player. But he brings, some pretty good size. I think he's the only other corner in our current room that, outside of Terrion Arnold, we got a lot of guys that are about 5'9", 180, 190. So he's 5'11", 195 pounds, and he's a tough physical corner, and he's a character guy. Another guy that has experience starting, that will compete as a nickelback, but can also play on the special teams as well. So, like I said, we can never have enough quality cornerbacks, and somebody else that can put some pressure on Terrion Arnold. That hey, if you don't perform, Avonte Maddox has started on the outside before. So it just makes us a lot deeper. We know how strong the wide receiver rooms are in the NFC North. You got your Jeffersons, you got your Adunze, you got your Moore, and you got a lot of guys. You got a lot of the Packers have some guys, Watson. So yeah, you can never have enough cornerbacks going into the season, and I think we did a good job of shoring up that weakness that we had.
I think when you get these guys, you get these veterans corners, you don't go into the draft needing to draft a corner.
Correct.
It's not one of those things that's on the priority list. However, if you get into like the 3rd or 4th round and there's a gem there that nobody has picked up for some odd reason, You can get a sleeper if you need a corner, but I'm not saying that the free agent pickups are your solution. You have to remember you still got Enos Straw, who thought many in the draft last year would go in the first round. He, he checked all the boxes for a lot of the draft experts, and he hardly played last year due to a nagging hamstring. And I'm pretty sure with that hamstring, that stuff should be over. You know what I'm saying? The best way to fix a hamstring is to not play on, let it heal. He's had plenty of time to let it heal, and you're bringing in these veteran cornerbacks into a room where you have already Terrion Arnold, Ray Straw, and DJ Reed, and I think these are good signings. These are not the sexy picks. These are not the highlight signings that you would go crazy over. But if you watched the season last year, we did not have enough corners last year. Khalil Dorsey, it's good to see. He went out with a broken leg or whatever, ankle, whatever.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys. He's a kickoff return guy. He's a speedy guy.
Right.
So people forget his value as far as special teams. So you bring back a Khalil Dorsey. You bring Rocky Sin, who actually has some NFL starts under his belt. And you bring in Maddox. He's 5'9", but he runs a 4.3, 4.4 40. Good corner. He'll have a chance. And one thing you want is these veterans to come in and challenge Arnold. When you get a signing and you're a rookie or second-year player and you see that there's people breathing down my neck, I'm going to watch more film. I'm going to get this, this training I need. I'm going to train in the off season. I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to get with my conditioning. I'm going to make sure I eat right. I'm going to do better. You're hoping that you get these things, because if not, there's someone that's doing these things that could very well, take my spot. And if this person behind me is better than behind Aaron Arnold is better than him and practice is better, you have to put him in there. So we still have a draft coming up. I think the bigger need is amongst that front seven. So, but these pickups, I'm not going to say I'm delighted. I'm going to say I'm not mad at. I think Maddox is a good pickup. Don't know much about Rocky Sin, but Maddox is a good pickup, I believe. And I believe you have to bring back Khalil Dorsey. Just for depth. You do have depth at corner. You do. You got to remember you lost Iffy as well, and you lost Carlton Davis. So you have to bring these players in. And Wilfer? He's gone. So you have to bring these corners in. You have to bring these corners in. We were undermanned at corner last year after bringing in all these corners. Vildor. I said Wilfer. Vildor. You lost Vildor. I don't think people are mad about that, but you still need to replace him. Near the end of the season, you lost a safety for a DUI. I forgot his name, but
Brandon Joseph.
Brandon Joseph, you lost the safety. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that we don't think about. We don't think about with the injury bug and stuff like that happening. We lost a lot of players. So depth, quality depth is something that we should strive for, and it shouldn't be questioned. So out of these picks, Foster, out of these free agents, which one you find the most value the last week? I think it's Muhammad.
Out of the I mean, it puts us in a position to where the only glaring weakness that we have is the edge rusher starter, the starter side of things. I think I think as far as our rotational guys between Anzarike, Muhammad, and Pascal slash somebody that may come in and take his job. I mean, I think you're pretty. I think you've kind of cleaned up. I think you've kind of put yourself in a pretty good, in a pretty good position going into the draft.
You
I
still
could
got Wingo as well.
Wingo. I'm like, I know there's somebody, and Wingo was pretty good. Wingo.
They
I
said
want to
he was
speak.
a steal of the draft last year.
Right, right. I've given up on Broderick Martin, not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but
I'm
uh,
mad at you.
but yeah, Wingo is another guy. Wingo might come in and compete for a starting job,
He could very well start. He could
honestly.
very well start.
And I think that they were paying attention to Zadarius Smith's social media. I think maybe it's Twitter where he still kind of has his stuff up as if he hasn't doesn't appear he's closed the door on returning you know returning to Detroit. I don't really see much here. Maybe it's just the highlights that he kind of kept up. Yeah, all the retweets and all that type of stuff is all, he kept it all up. So I think either way, I think we're in a decent position. The Lions could double up at edge if they wanted to at this point, because outside of a game changer at linebacker, we don't really have any major holes.
Right.
Receiver, we're pretty solid 1 through 3. Really 1 through 4. Where else? We're good at safety, but I think that we could look at developing a safety. We're very good at cornerback right now, all things considered. So yeah, I think that I think we go edge early, and even if I think we go edge early.
I got a what if scenario, Foster.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, season starts, you got a healthy Hutch. You also have a Muhammad, right, who's going to be there all the off season, the entire summer, fall camp. And let's say you do draft an edge, but what if Muhammad plays so well as the other? Because you don't need a dominant edge. You need one that can get the job done on the other side. You know what I'm saying? People are going crazy because you don't have because you got one dominant edge and nothing else on the other side, right? You don't need two dominant edges. You don't. You need one that can get the job done on one side, and you need a dominant edge. Most teams don't have both defensive end going crazy.
I don't know.
It would be nice and it would be wonderful, but
Yeah.
if we didn't have anybody to hold up the other side for Hutch. We haven't. He hasn't had much help as far as the other edge rusher.
Right.
Just imagine if Muhammad steps in and is a lot better than what we've had. You know what I'm saying? That would be pretty good. I
just want to see him improve. A lot of these edge rushers nowadays,
that's all
they can be one dimensional as far as either they rush the quarterback or they play the run.
Yeah.
It's a rare occasion like a Hutch who can do both. So that's what I'm looking at from the perspective of Muhammad. I don't think he has any issues rushing the quarterback. I just think that he's probably more of a third down guy as opposed to every down.
Rush specialist. You got pass rush specialists and you got edges that do everything.
Right.
I think the answer is in the draft. And I will say that the Lions are not looking for the speedy pass rusher specialist. They're looking for the bigger guy on the other side that can set the edge and that can get to the quarter, that can do both, right? Um, there are some guys in this draft that it's like these are the prototypical size defensive ends and edges that are there. And I think the draft is so deep. I had a discussion with Oob yesterday.
Okay.
And I've been saying this for a long time, Foster. And if I'm lying, you can tell me. I've been saying for a long time, even before free agency, that I don't think the Lions will go out and make a splash in free agency over an edge rusher. I don't think they're going to make trades for one. I think they're going to get an edge rusher in the draft because there's so many that are good. There's so many good athletes at the edge rushing position in this draft. You don't have to sell the farm to get one. And like I mentioned, you don't need it would be nice to have another person that can get you 14, 15 sacks on the other side. But it's not really feasible to expect that with nobody you bring in.
I mean, I think in this day and age, it's kind of more imperative than ever, though, because you have these running quarterbacks that.
Yeah.
So I think that whereas, at one time it was more when the running game was more of a strategy. You just wanted a guy that could hold his side down, hold the edge. But nowadays,
But you know what the answer to that is, though, Foster? For these running quarterbacks, it's a linebacker spy.
Yeah.
You need a spy that can run sideline to sideline with these. Now, what that does do is that brings a linebacker, that takes a linebacker out of coverage.
And have you noticed that when you look at the last couple of drafts, there hasn't been a blue chip linebacker. They're all converted edge rusher guys.
Yeah.
Like,
the guy in Alabama is that sideline
right.
linebacker that
and he went backwards. I think he was an edge rusher first and became a linebacker.
But he's 4.5 speed. He can definitely, get to the quarterback, and he's a very instinctive linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised if any team picked him up early to do just that, to keep the running, these running quarterbacks in line, because we have to worry about Jaden Daniels. We have to worry about later on down the line. They're not in our division. You have to worry about Caleb. You have to worry about Hurst. You have to worry about some of these quarterbacks, because once they get, the freedom to run, they're going to run. And if they have the option to run, you can do run option pass with those. The problem with the run option pass is nobody has been able to stop it at this level. And I think teams are going to, at some point, figure it out. Because there was a time in college football where a running quarterback was unstoppable. It's stoppable now. They figured it out. And what they did was they put speed at the linebacker. They put speed all over the field.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These linebackers are running like safeties. You know what I'm saying? These safeties are running like corners. You know what I'm saying? These defensive ends are running like linebackers. These tackles are running like defensive ends. So
right.
they've gotten speed all over the field to prevent a quarterback from going buck wild. And I think with the NFL, you're going to see that trend come back, because these quarterbacks didn't run for a reason back in the day, because they get hurt out there trying to run. You know what I'm saying? They protected their quarterbacks. They didn't want their quarterback was probably the most unathletic people you'd see. They can throw the ball, you know what I'm saying, but they weren't built to run. And I think what's going to happen in times to come is that they're going to gear up for these running quarterbacks. Boss, let's take a quick break. I don't know how long the show is going to be, but definitely got to get a break in between. If you're listening, give us about 10 seconds. No. If you're watching, give us 10 seconds. If you're listening, you're going to hear some ads. Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where I think the Lions or any team to stop a running quarterback, it's not going to be your defensive ends. I think it's going to be your very fast linebackers and your instinctive corners are going to have to help out. They're so worried about getting beat downfield. So, a good corner that can read, a good linebacker that can read is those are your answers there. Your defensive ends going to do what they're going to do. Set the edge, rush the quarterback. There's so many good defensive ends in this. I can't wait till we finally do a draft preview show. The draft is April 12th. That's a couple weeks away. So one of these shows, me and you are going to do a draft preview because I think what the fans for the most point are kind of disappointed because of the lack of big signings. And I don't understand it because you're not 15-2 and make a bunch of big free signings. It's just
uproot the team.
Yeah, you just don't go out. You can say the season was a disappointment, but it was one football game in the playoffs that you didn't play your best game. And you can make excuses, but the very fact is you had a lot of injuries, and then you lose your starting cornerback the first series of the game. Meek Robinson goes out with a broken arm.
Right.
And the last game he played phenomenal versus Justin Jefferson prior to that. So he's going into this game very confident and gets hurt. First series of the game. Something we've been dealing with all year last year was injuries. So I don't think you go into the offseason having to revamp, rehaul, this, that, and other. Me and Foster knew that priority was at corner. Retain Carlton Davis or get a replacement. That was done. And then the rest were just depth pieces. That was done.
But they ask us, why do we sign corners? And
they didn't watch last
year. We got corners breaking their jaw and breaking their arm left and right.
Bro, how many times have you seen where anyone in the NFL has broken a jaw? That's the kind of look that the Lions had for injuries last year. A broken jaw? It just doesn't, that you don't see it that often, but it happened to the Lions. So you have to go into the offseason because last year you had Enes Rakenstraw couldn't crack the lineup because of a sore hamstring most of the season. Emmanuel Mosley hurt all season. Iffy hurt most of the season. Khalil Dorsey breaks his ankle in a game. It's another corner. If you don't see the need to build depth in the cornerback room, because if these were, let's say, for instance, out of these last three cornerbacks, let's say in the free agency, you got DJ Reed and another top free agent cornerback, you wouldn't hear anything. You wouldn't hear any complaints whatsoever. But the fact is that these aren't notable names and notable people. There's going to be issues with who you're picking up. I think with the pickups of O'Connor, with the re-signings of O'Connor, Muhammad, and let's not forget, Zadarius Smith hasn't signed anywhere. And I honestly think he'll be back here in Detroit. until I hear otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Until he signs somewhere else, I think that was a money move, you know what I'm saying, to restructure and get it fixed. We'll see. I could be wrong.
I mean, that's what Carlton Davis did when we traded for him. He restructured his deal.
Like I said, we'll see. Let's see here. I don't know what that is. Hold on a second. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But at the same time, if it doesn't work out to where you don't bring back Zadarius Smith, you still got to draft. And there's a lot of good quality edges. Now, Foster, I will say this. If you bring back Zadarius Smith with the draft being so deep at edge, you don't have to draft an edge at 28. You can go D tackle, you can go linebacker, you can go offensive line if you wanted to. But I think in the second round, you have to go get that edge. So
Gotta address it somewhere.
You gotta address it somewhere, and it has to be in the first or second round. But it gives you flexibility. Let's say, for instance, you sign Zadarius Smith, but the linebacker from Alabama is right there at 28.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
That'd be too sweet.
No doubt. You bring the Alabama linebacker in because he can put his hand in it. He can be a rush specialist. You can move him to the edge on a, you know what I'm saying, on a passing down. You definitely could. I just think the defensive line is a lot deeper and better than what we give credit to. And we wasn't able to show that last year due to injuries. You got Wingo coming back. You do have DJ Reader coming back. I'm not going to mention Davenport.
McNeil. Davenport. Oh, I forgot about Davenport.
He has to show me something.
That's kind of crazy when you really think about it. When you really break it down now, I mean, Davenport is going to be physically ready for camp. So if you look at the depth chart right now, if you look at the depth chart now, he's the starting edge opposite Hutch right now. All things considered.
All things considered.
We might have one of the deeper defensive lines.
You still got DJ Reader. You will have
McNeil.
You will have Aleem McNeil around week 8 or 9. He'll be back.
That's kind of crazy that it's that long though. Is he's gonna be out that long?
Foster, when did he tear his ACL? That was
kind of late in the year.
Week 13, week 4. Usually it's a year for a big fella with a torn ACL. It's usually a year. I'm giving grace in saying he'll be back 4 or 5 weeks early. So that
it was against the Bills.
Yeah, that was around week 12, 13, right? Game 12 or 13, right?
And I think that's the game that Carlton Davis broke his jaw.
So
December 15th.
So usually that's a year, Foster.
Yeah. So that would put him into next December.
Usually, I mean, for a big fella, not the younger corners, smaller fellas, you know what I'm saying? They can come back from an ACL within 7 or 8 months. But usually for a big fella, you know, to get in game shape and everything else, that's a year. I'm giving grace. I'm hoping he'll be back by week 8 or 9. But I don't think they have to rush him back because of Wingo, because of Pat O'Connor, because of Anzarike, Reader. You know what I'm saying? You got people in place. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you can find a D tackle second or third round, you can get you a D tackle. If you're not confident on when Aleem McNeil will be back, you know what I'm saying? And he was playing some great football before he, got hurt. So I just think the defensive line is a lot deeper than what it was. I think the linebacking core was decimated as well. At one point, Barnes, Anzalone, and Rodriguez was out.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, man. It's a lot of people. You brought back Barnes, and I think he'll have his best season as a pro next year. Campbell has played pretty good. That's another season of learning and growth for him. And Anzalone is going to do what he's going to do.
And he's a happy man because Barnes was his right hand.
Yeah. So I think at this point, the Lions are a lot more deeper and talented than what we give them credit for defensively. It's just a matter of them staying healthy and bringing in a piece or two through the draft, and that will solidify you. Would you agree, Foss?
I agree. I really feel like we're in the driver's seat.
The question is how the defense will be run. New defensive coordinator. I'm very cool with someone who has been there. Person that was promoted within your linebacker coach work closely with Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator. So he had a lot of on-the-job training. And
we certainly know their linebacker is going to be running the same. He has literally brought back every last linebacker from Trevor Nowatzki to Agude is technically a linebacker. He's brought them all back.
These are people he trusts.
Barnes
that he can find coachable. These are people that can run the system he wants to have in place. And he's went out and said, I'm concentrating on the front seven. It's, more so than the back end. So he wants that front seven to do what needs to be done to help the back end.
And he's got talent. He's got talent back there too. A whole lot of
talent back there. That front seven with the draft, you can solidify it. You don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money. And people forget, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Hutch, you have I'm talking about the people that you're going to have to pay some.
Oh, as far as paying, yeah.
So it makes more sense financially to not pay for a rush in free agency, then draft one of the good ones that's in the draft. There's pennies on a dollar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got to pay Hutch at some point soon. You're going to have to pay Jahmyr Gibbs soon. You're going to have to pay J-Mo soon. And I think Brad Holmes has always said he's always prioritized the people that are here that he wants to keep. And he's never made a big splash free agency-wise, spending-wise. He hasn't done that. He's gotten some players, and he hadn't played a lot of money for. CD Deuce wasn't expensive at all.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Carlton Davis wasn't expensive at all. These are players that he's brought in, and he didn't break the bank doing it. And they were contributors. So there's a phrase that goes on in Detroit about these Lions, and it's let Brad cook. I haven't let Brad cook. I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those people that say, hey, man, you bull, you mess. Come on, man. I don't agree with anybody he picks up. I don't agree with anybody he drafts. I did agree with DJ Reed. I did agree with that one. I like that one. I did agree with Muhammad. I did agree with Maddox. I'm starting to see the light a little bit.
Starting to.
But like I said, if we talk about draft picks who I didn't agree with, you would look at me like I'm crazy. I was livid he drafted J-Mo.
Oh, J-Mo?
You drafted somebody with a torn ACL, bro. We don't know if he can run like that again. What happens? He comes in week 9 and shuts me the hell up. Next season, shuts me the hell up. This season, 1,000-yard season. I ain't had no business speaking on that.
Isn't it crazy? He's going into his 4th season now.
Traded up for Jahmyr Gibbs, a player I thought he could have gotten the 2nd round. You don't go get this guy. Look what he's doing. I didn't agree with that. You think at this point I shut the hell up? But no, he drafts Laporta and I get mad again. What are you doing? These are some of the greatest picks. You know what I'm saying? And I don't approve of them. I didn't approve of them at the time. So I have to let Brad cook as well. And I'm pretty sure that I'm saying this now, but if he drafts somebody I don't agree with, you're going to hear it. Like, you're going to hear me fuss. I'm going to trip. I'm going to backslide on everything I've said. And then I'm going to be eating crow when they do well. Oh my, I got a good barbecue pit in the back. You know, so it is what it is. Foster, you want to put a bow on this before we get out of here?
Yeah, we're about a month removed from the NFL draft, so we're definitely going to be ramping up the coverage on that. Obviously, there's not much left to be accomplished from free agency at this point, so we'll probably have a lot less to discuss on that front. But yeah, well, I think that we didn't we do some live mock drafts last year?
We did.
Yeah, I think that we should
do one this year.
I think we should revisit that, even if it's a couple of them. I don't even remember what the results were last year, but
we had nothing right.
Right, yeah. Which
and the reason
that has a lot to do with, how the computer takes, how the computer works things in front of us.
I think on a couple of drafts we did, we had picked Kool-Aid.
Who?
Kool-Aid.
Oh, McKinstry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our first pick at 28 or 20, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was a hot name last year. He had kind of a quiet year with New Orleans, but that Kool-Aid McKinstry was a hot name, especially because he was from Alabama, which is why it was such a big deal when we got.
We thought he was the better corner, even though our rating was higher.
Right.
And he had more interceptions. So Arnold kind of fell in our lap.
He did. Well, we traded. Didn't we trade?
We traded to go
Green
up.
Bay.
We didn't think that Arnold would be a Lion. We didn't think he'd be available.
Yeah.
So the opportunity was there to trade up and get him, and that's what happened.
Yep. And Kool-Aid ended up going in the 2nd round, and he had 42 tackles, no interceptions, no sacks. So kind of I don't want to say a similar year to Arnold, because Arnold was a lot more tested, but neither one of them had a pick.
Yeah.
Bama kind of falling off, huh?
I think Arnold's going to get picks this year. It's coming up. I think he will.
I think he had one call back last year, right?
Yeah, they called a bull pass interference or something, and that it was not. It was in the end zone. It was not.
Yep, it was in the end zone. I remember.
Yeah, in my opinion, it was clean, but it is what it is. So, with that being said, I want to remind everyone: you put the bow on it, right?
I did.
The bow, yeah. I want everybody to subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. Check us out. I think the next show we'll be doing on the Lions we'll be hosting Who Will Be King. That's a collaboration show with the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, two teams that have been very busy in the offseason, and they think they're I ain't gonna talk bad about that. I almost said something. But yeah, they did a lot of, and one thing though, they didn't look down upon us. They didn't tease us about not making any moves like they made. But let's look at it like this though. Chicago Bears went 5-12. They're supposed to make moves. They're supposed to make a splash in free agency. They have the money. They went 5-12. They did what they were supposed to do. One thing the Minnesota Vikings aren't mentioning is that they lost a lot. They're supposed to spend money. They lost their quarterback. They lost the starting safety. You know what I'm saying? They had to spend money. They were losing a tackle. The one that got hurt, they lost him. So they had to spend money. They had to. So I don't think we were in a position to where we had to spend a bunch of money to be better. I don't think you can be too much better in the regular season than 15-2. I think 15-2 was overachievement last year, especially with the injuries.
Absolutely.
And we all know, especially because of last year, you can be 15-2 and still fall short.
Sadly.
So, do I expect the Lions to take a step back? I do. But to take a step back at 15-2 can mean 13-4. That can mean 12-5. And that's what I'm assuming this year. 12-5, 13-4, around there. I do expect the playoffs. By all means. We didn't lose a game in a division last year. I know we're going to lose a division game this year. It just doesn't happen. You don't go 2 years in a row sweeping a division. So it is what it is. I want everybody to subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers. Make sure you're following us on all the aggregators for your audio fix. You know how to get to us. Bleachers and Speakers, FFSN, in those platforms. Make sure that notification bell is on so when we drop content, you will get an alert. And also download those episodes, please. Foster, it's been a great Saturday. We'll be back with some featured player profiles next week for sure. All right?
Correct.
So have a great Saturday. God bless. Subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube.
Get your lick back. If a nigga gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your